English Story Times, Book 17, Story 12. Scuba diving. Line 1. Scuba diving is one of the most peaceful and pleasurable things to do. Scuba diving is one of the most peaceful and pleasurable things to do. Question: how is this sport? How is this sport to do? How is this sport to do? Well, scuba diving is one of the most peaceful and pleasurable things to do. Line 2. You only hear air bubbles. And yourself breathing. You only hear air bubbles and yourself breathing. Question: what is there to listen to? What is there to listen to? You only hear air bubbles and yourself breathing. Line 3. You experience a freedom of movement as you move through the water. You experience a freedom of movement as you move through the water. Question: how do you feel doing this? How do you feel doing this? Well, you experience a freedom of movement as you move through the water. Line 4. The cameraman took this picture under the divers. The cameraman took this picture under the divers. Question: where was the cameraman? Where was the cameraman? Well, the cameraman took this picture under the divers. Line 5. On the left diver, we can just barely see the air bubbles rising to the surface of the water. On the left diver, we can just barely see the air bubbles rising to the surface of the water. Line 6. One diver is wearing semi-transparent fins. One diver is wearing semi-transparent fins. What's transparent here? What's semi-transparent here? Well, one diver is wearing semi-transparent fins. Reading out loud goal. Here we go. Scuba diving is one of the most peaceful and pleasurable things to do. You only hear air bubbles and yourself breathing. You experience a freedom of movement as you move through the water. The cameraman took this picture under the divers. On the left diver, we can just barely see the air bubbles rising to the surface of the water. One diver is wearing semi-transparent fins.